So 1.7, linear and absolute value inequalities. Okay, so here's inequality notation. In English, we say endpoint included, endpoint excluded, or not included. So if we're doing it on a number line, we would have a closed circle or open circle. For inequalities, we have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And then for inequality, or for this inequality, we have less than or we have greater than. So let's write that down. Do you guys have a little way to remember? The less than is like the L. And the other one is greater than. If it has the dash underneath, it's or equal to, right? So less than is like the L. And then greater than is the other one. So interval notation, you have square or hard brackets. For included, if you have the equals to, it's the square brackets. Or if you have just less than or greater than, then it's the parentheses. Okay? So when we solve inequalities, this is what we're going to use. And then we're going to put it on a number line, and then we're going to do an interval notation. Okay? All right, so solving linear inequalities. So how do we solve linear equations? How do we know if we even have a linear equation? What? Good, so it's x to the first power. Good. So linear means x to the first power, and inequality means I have one of these symbols, right? One of these right here. The only difference between solving linear equations and solving linear inequalities is when you multiply or divide by a negative, you need to flip the inequality. That's the only difference. That's the only new thing to remember. Okay, so let's solve for the variable. So number one, I have 2x is less than 8. So if this was a linear equation, I need x equals a number, right? But here I need x, some sort of inequality symbol, number, right? So I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I get x is less than 4. Okay, so now let's put that on a number line. So whenever I make a number line, I need at least 3 values. Smallest to largest, right? Left to right, smaller to larger. Okay, around 4, x is less than 4, so less than is an open circle. X is less than 4. So now I'm going to read my values that I put on the number line. 3 is less than 4, is that true? Okay, 5 is less than 4, is that true? No, so I'm going to shade towards 3. I'm shading towards the truth. All right, and then I'm going to do an arrow, whether I'm graphing on a number line or whether I'm graphing a function. The arrow means it continues like that forever, right? Amelia?
Is it okay if you just draw an arrow and don't like shoot it in like that?
If you draw like a line and then arrow?
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I've seen some people do line, arrow. Good. As long as I can see the line.
Like above.
Yeah. Okay, so now how do I do this in interval notation? I'm going to do negative infinity to 4. Around 4, because it's the last line, because it's the open circle, I have a soft bracket. Around negative infinity, I always, always, always have a soft bracket. Always, always a parenthesis around plus or minus infinity. Does anybody know why that is? Because infinity is not exactly a number, right? So I can't say infinity is included because maybe you say, hey, I have infinity. I say, well, I have infinity plus 1. My infinity is bigger. So how do we know what's included? We don't know. Soft bracket. There's different sizes of infinity. Okay, so usually when we give an answer, it's an interval notation. All right, so number 2, 3x plus 5 is greater than 20. So when's the only time I switch is greater than 20? So, thanks. So the only difference is if I multiply or divide by a negative, I need to flip the inequality, okay? So that's what I'm thinking. I see it's an inequality, I see it's linear. So linear inequality, linear equation, I'm going to solve the exact same way. Okay, let's do it. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And I get 3x is greater than 15. Now what? Divide both sides by 3. Am I multiplying or dividing by a negative? Nope, so I keep it the same. So I get x is greater than 5. All right, let's throw together a number line. Oop. So a number line, I go smaller to larger, left to right, smaller to larger. That's the same with interval notation. Smaller, larger, smaller, larger. So left to right, smaller, larger. If you would have written for number 1, if you would have written 4 to negative infinity, incorrect. Smaller, larger. Left to right, smaller, larger. That's why I think it's beneficial to do the number line so we can see. Okay? So open circle, closed circle around 5. Open circle around 5. Now let me read it. 4 is greater than 5. True? No. 6 is greater than 5? True. Shade, end with an arrow. Or if you want to do a line, that's fine. All right, so now how do I do this in interval notation? 5, infinity. There's always a comma in between. Good. In parenthesis around 5, because it's greater than, there's no equal to, an open circle. Around infinity is always the parenthesis. All right, number 2. 3x is greater than or equal to 11x minus 16. So I'm trying to get everything with an x on one side, everything without an x on the other side. So subtract 11x. Okay, so I wrote all the in-between steps for these two. I'm not going to do it, right? Just like with linear equations, I don't need to write plus 5, divided by 2, divided by 2. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So here I'm subtracting 11x from both sides, and what do I get? Negative 8x is greater than or equal to negative 16. Now what? Divide by negative 8. Somebody tell me what to write. Somebody raise your hand and tell me. Gus? Good, so I'm flipping the inequality because I'm dividing by a negative, right? Dividing by a negative means flip the inequality. If I multiply or divide both sides by a negative, I need to flip the inequality. So I flipped it. Okay? So now let's do the number line. So I need at least 2 values. Maybe I want to spice it up and do 0, 2, 4 with that. All right, so around 2, what kind of circle? Closed circle. And if you're not sure how I'm figuring that out, look at the chart. 2 is included, right? 2 is less than or equal to 2. That's true, right? So I want to include 2 in my solutions. So I need to color in 2, right? Whereas here, 4 is less than 4. Not true, right? But 3.99 is less than 4. That's true. 3.9999999 is less than 4. So this is saying I'm including every single number, just not exactly 4. But I'm including everything less than 4. Okay? So which way am I shading, left or right? Left. So 0 is less than or equal to 2. That's true. So how do we do that in interval notation? What do you guys think? Good. All right, what do you think about number 4? Distribute first. So it's still linear, so I need to simplify both sides. And then get everything with an x on one side, everything without an x to the other side. Good. So I'm distributing the -2. So here I'm distributing the -2. Do I need to flip the inequality? No, because I'm not doing it to both sides. I'm just simplifying. So -12 is less than or equal to -2x minus 10 plus 2. Now what? Combine like terms. Add 8 to both sides. If you guys feel like I'm going too fast, you need to review linear equations, solving linear equations, right? That's all we're doing right now. I feel like it's what we've spent the majority of the class doing. Divide both sides by -2. I will write that one because that's the flip the inequality. So I'm just trying to highlight that I'm flipping it here, right? Divide both sides by -2. I flip the inequality. Just trying to highlight that. Okay? So now how do I write this on a number line? Well, I need at least 2 values. You could do 1, 2, 3, 0, 2, 4, whatever you're feeling like, right? Okay, so is 2 an open circle or a closed circle? Closed at 2. So am I shading right or left? Left, right. Some people, left, right. Let's read it. 2 is greater than or equal to 0. Is that correct? 2 is greater than or equal to 4. No, so I'm shading towards 0. Some people try to remember it as the way that this is spacing, that's like how their arrow should look, but it's not the case, right? So don't try to think about this as your arrow, which way you shade. Read the statement to yourself, right? Make sure you're shading in the true direction. All right, so how do I write this in interval notation? Awesome. Good? All right, let's go on to the next page. All right, so now we are going to talk about intersections and unions. So the union of sets written like this U is a new set formed when the two sets are added together. So that's written A union B. And a better definition is what's in either A or in B. Okay, and the intersection of sets. So this kind of tells us how to look at it, like if we're looking at a number line or if we're looking at a picture. I'm combining these two sets. I'm kind of adding them together. So it's like adding them together. Intersection of sets, written like an upside down U, is a new set formed when the two sets of numbers overlap. So see here I have set A in the circle, I have set B in the circle. This is where they're overlapping. So this is kind of tells us how to look at it. So this would be A intersection B, and I can say that's what's in both A and B. So what's in both is the intersection, what's in either is the union. Okay? So I think a lot of people have done solving inequalities, but let's see if we can figure this part out. This part might be a little trickier. Okay, so graph the following on the number line, and if not already, express in interval notation. So 3, 4, and 2, 8. What is and? Intersection. Okay. So what's the intersection of these two sets? What's in both sets? I personally think the best way to look at it is on a number line. So I need 2, 3, 4, and 8 to show up, right? So 2, 3, 4, here's 8 over here. Can could do all of them if you want me to. All right, so let's see. So let's do, we'll do the first set in this blue. So 3, 4. Around 3, do I have a closed circle or open circle? Open circle around 3, closed circle around 4, and I'm shading in between, right? Okay? Then for 2, 8, you guys try to do it. Closed circle or open circle around 2? Closed. And then open circle around 8, and then I'm shading in between. So the intersection is the and. The intersection is the overlap, right? The overlap. So what's the overlap? Well, it's what's shaded in both, right? So I just try to do it in red, what's shaded in both, right? So can I write that as an interval? As one single interval. What's shaded in both? 3 to 4. Tell me about the brackets. Is 4 in both? Is 3 in both? 4 is in both, so that's going to be a hard bracket. 3 is not in both, but everything up to 3 is in both, so it's a soft bracket, right? So really, this is just the one thing. Okay? So I'm looking for the overlap. All right, let's do number 6. So 4 to infinity, and is the intersection 0 to 4. Okay, so let's do the number line. So I need 0. Oh, yeah, that's 0. So I need 0. I need 4, and I'll do 8. However you make your number line is fine, right? You just have to have 3 values. Okay, so do 4 to infinity on your number line. Shade it, squiggle it in. Do 4, 0 to 4. Okay, so where do these overlap? Huh? Is 4 in both sets? No. They don't overlap. Good. They don't overlap. So what's my answer? Nothing, right? How do I write that in math, though? No solution. What? Do you know the symbol? Awesome. Kaylani, coming through. Who is your math teacher? Touch lots of vocab. So you can do either of these. This is the empty set or the set with nothing in it. No solution. Set with nothing in it. Super nothing.
So even if it overlaps on 4,
it doesn't overlap on 4. 4 is not in both of these, is it?
Okay.
The open circle means I don't have 4, but I have 4.1, 4.11, 4.01. I have everything right up to 4, but not 4.
All right.
What if they were both closed? What if it was closed?
Then it would be 1 point, and that would be 4.
So would you just, like, if it's just 1 point, would you just put 4?
Good. So I would put like this. If it's one x value, it would be like this. So I'll do that. So 4 to infinity, intersection 0 to 4. So it's not an interval, it's one x value. So you would put it like this. Oh, I like that question. Nobody's asked me that before. Good. If you had like 4 to 5, you get an interval, right? And everything in between that interval. This is one answer, one x value. I think we still have 2 minutes, yeah? I have an alarm on my watch when we have 1 minute left. So. Okay, so how do I write or with the symbols with math? Or is the union. So let's do the number line. So I'm going to do negative 5, 0, 5. Okay? So negative infinity to 5, negative 5 is like this. Open circle around 5, squiggle to the left. 5 to infinity is closed circle, squiggle to the right. And I can't write that any nicer because the or is I'm just combining them, right? I'm adding them together. I'm combining them. So this is just the answer. I can't simplify it at all. Okay? All right, so we'll finish this next time. If you guys have questions, let me know. Don't forget, Friday.